Yeah, that full piece will be aired on OTB Sports Radio and across all the usual off-the-ball channels from midday today, so do head along to check it out. He's incredibly charismatic, entertaining, biting at times character who you had a little bit of experience of as a player. There was a small bit of an overlap.
Yeah, I came into the squad when Brian Kerr was manager and Roy had come back, so my first introduction was, even though I didn't actually get a cap, which was disappointing, but I was in the squad from about 2004, I think, when I was playing for Tottenham at the time, and I came in and Roy was back in, so I came in and I trained with him, and as a young player coming in and Roy Keane is there and you're just kind of in awe and you're watching him, and it was, even when you're doing little drills, I was making sure, like, not that I wouldn't have been, but I'd make sure I got around the cone because I wouldn't want him to think I wasn't doing things right and stuff, and he had a aura around him and a personality, and he's a fantastic footballer. Like, what he's done in the game is outstanding, and on the pitch he was just a born leader. And then obviously I've gone on to work with him as a manager as well, because in the Irish setup, when him and Martin took over, I was in the squad for the first year or so of their reign, and it was different in that sense. You know, it was a lot of friendlies we played, so I didn't get the in-depth sort of analysis. I didn't get to see what they really did when it comes to qualifiers, but from my own personal experiences with him, he's extremely engaging. If you met him, he's very personable, he's funny, it's very different to what you get to know. So when you're with him one-on-one, Roy's a different person to what you see there, and you're kind of going, oh well, but then all of a sudden there's something that snaps, and that's when the Roy comes out that you're kind of like, whoa, is this the same person I'm speaking to?
Do you get to see much of that sort of dichotomy almost in it? No,
like I said, because the games we mostly played in were friendlies, there was one or two games we played against Portugal and we were disappointing. We performed well at parts of it, but then they ran in the second half. They ran over us. We gave a couple of good silly goals away, and it was before the World Cup. They were going on to do well. Ronaldo was in flying flow, but they were disappointed. And after the game, they told us about it. They picked out certain players. They said they should have done better. They expected more of them, and they were, you know, they were right with the criticism and they were harsh with it. And that was early on, so I think they were laying on the law slightly about what they expected from the team, and if we're going to progress as a team, and if we want to qualify for tournaments, even though we're playing against Portugal, we have to give a better account of ourselves, which they were right. But then when you watch that, that's disappointing.
Yeah, and he kind of, like, he says that, like, that's his way and I'm not changing for anybody was one of the sort of expressions that he used. He also said, like, that he made a joke about, the perception of Roy Keane, the manager in the dressing room, that I only kill 3 people every time I'm in there or whatever, that he's certainly something he's aware of, but at the same time not something that he's at all willing to change.
No, I don't think he will. I don't think he's the type of person that's going to change. He's been the way he is for probably most of his career and his life, and I can't say, like I said, I don't know him well enough to say, I know Roy Keane and but you don't think he's going to change. He doesn't come across, he doesn't pull punches, he's not in any way sensitive about things. He just says it how he thinks it is, and sometimes he goes too far, and that's what happened in the roadshow. He went too far.
You would have liked a few more caps under the 2 lads, obviously.
Yeah, of course I would have. Yeah, I would have loved some more caps, and it would have been nice if they had brought me into the squad more and I was still playing. But that's, you always expect it to end at some point. You probably don't expect it to end as abruptly as it did for me, but that's football, and you got a road that I can't be offended by. I'm not going to hold a grudge against it. A lot of people do. A lot of people hold animosity towards the people that didn't play them and stuff. And as much as you could come out and say whatever you want to say and say it didn't happen, for me, I can't change that. I can't do anything about it. At the time I was trying to play as well as I could to get myself picked. They obviously didn't think I was good enough at the time, or wherever it was, and that was it. So you move on and you get on with it. For me now, in the career I'm in, you could go out and say whatever you want to say, but I just don't feel I need to hold grudges against people or say stuff. I feel like what I'm here to do is talk about football and talk about games and talk about the players and how they're performing, not about anything else off the pitch. So I'll just try and be as honest and as open as I can with what I say and what I do, and that's kind of been the way I've lived my whole life. So I wouldn't change that. Obviously I'm a different person to Roy though.
Yeah, that's I think there are very few in that category. Yeah. The abruptness of it, is that just something that happens in football? Is that just accepted that's the way it is, or is there another way of doing it in your experience?
No, there could be other ways to do it. You could have a phone call. You spent a long time in Ireland, like I had. I've been in the setup since I was 15. You'd think you'd get a phone call or say something, it'd be nice, but listen, it didn't happen, and that's the way it was, and I'm not going to cry about it. I'm a tough character. I've always been able to I'm confident that what I did in my own career, and I'm happy with what I did, and you know, other people might not be happy with it, they might not think it's good, but I'm proud of what I achieved, and I think that for myself, I don't need to have someone tell me something. I'm confident enough with my wife Helga. She was always there, and people like that would support me and tell me how well I've done, and tell me if I've done bad as well. But I don't need to be told by someone else, or I think it would have been nice, but it didn't happen. So that was it.
See, that's the interesting thing. That well, there's a number of things that kind of popped out to me during that interview that tells you a lot about Roy Keane. But one of them, and I know it's kind of down the list of priorities, is the kind of thing he says about Walters' medals, and wouldn't take you too long to count that. Like, you can talk about the personality of Roy Keane and how that might have no place in modern football, and how no dressing room would respond well to that. But also, there's something about that attitude of, unless you've got medals, you're not worth my time, sort of, like a snobbery about a certain class of player. Granted, that comes from a player who's so successful that it's kind of, you can be sympathetic to that worldview. But, like as Nathan pointed out there, Jonathan Walters went on to have a good career. Just because you haven't won a Premier League doesn't mean you weren't part of the 0.001% of top players in your country or in Western Europe. Exactly.
Actually,
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it makes it an unbelievable career. Like if you've played in the Premiership for a long, sustained period of time, which John did, and you've captained your country, which John did at times. He wasn't the captain, but he did get to wear the armband. And you've scored goals, and you've performed on the big stage, and you've played in big tournaments, then yeah, you have had a good career. You may not have won the Champions League, or you may not have won medals, so you can't put yourself in that elite bracket of the, like I said, the small percentage of players. But as it goes, you've had a good career, and it's, like I said, it's disappointing what was said, and you watch it and you're kind of going, oh, you're watching it through great teeth at times, and you're kind of covering your eyes thinking, is that what he said? And I think he goes over the line when it talks about family and stuff. I think that's something that shouldn't be discussed. There's no need for it. In what Roy has done in his career and how he's performed in the levy, he could probably say anything about anybody's footballing ability and get away with it because of what he did. So you kind of think, well, you know what? I wasn't as good as you. I didn't achieve what you achieved. So if you want to say I'm this or that as a player, you're entitled to your opinion. When you start talking about other things, that's when it becomes borderline on a bit of a vendetta or against somebody, and I think that pushes boundaries, and it makes people not like it.